If you guys have hung around the channel for a little bit, you know I'm very big into statistics, but I'm also very big into the salary cap. I'm a big salary cap nerd. I love going over the contracts and all the inner workings about it. And one of those features of the salary cap that we love talking about is the franchise tag and the transition tag. So let's talk about it. J-E-T-S, Jets! Welcome to Jets Talk. My name is Ryan. I'll be your pilot today. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Guys, if you have not tuned in to my live stream Monday night, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, every Monday night, I take phone calls and questions from you guys to answer all your salary cap questions, your trade questions, your free agent questions, anything you want to talk about. Tune into that Monday night. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this video. We're talking franchise tag, transition tag. What do you guys need to know? For those of you that are new, franchise tag has two different types of designations. You could have the exclusive rights free agent tag, in which you are paid the top 5 at your position, and no other team is allowed to negotiate with you. You have the non-exclusive franchise tag, which is the same thing, top 5 at your position, and other teams are allowed to negotiate with you. But the team that placed the tag on that player gets the right of first refusal. So if someone offers you a contract, they have the ability to match it or allow you to walk. However, if that team offers you a contract, they have to give up 2 first-round picks in order to sign you away from that team. So a little bit of a catch-22 in terms of that tag. In terms of the transition tag, that is the average of the top 10 at your position, and a team can try to sign you away. You get the right of first refusal, same way as the non-exclusive rights free agent tag, but you do not get any compensation if the player is signed away. You just get the right to refuse the contract first if you so choose. There used to be a really cool caveat with the transition tag that teams could really use if you wanted to screw over another team, and that's the poison pill aspect to this deal. And what this used to be is you could sign a deal with another team, and your original team would have to match that contract word for word. So between the Seahawks and the Vikings back in, I think it was 2005, the transition tag was placed on Steve Hutchinson, an offensive guard for the Seahawks. The Minnesota Vikings decided to pay him a nice contract, normal contract, but in the clause of the contract, there was a note that said, if you are not the highest paid player on that offensive line, your full $49 million is completely guaranteed. Since the Seahawks had Walter Jones, their offensive tackle, on their team, would have been making more money than Steve Hutchinson, so Hutchinson was able to walk for free and go over to the Vikings, no compensation needed. So the poison pill was something that used to be really cool. They don't really do that anymore. I don't think you're actually allowed to under the CBA because it's not technically the same contract, even though you're matching it, and it's a little screwy and squirrely. But they took that out of there. But let's jump into the actual numbers, the meat and potatoes. So I'm not exactly sure how they figure out the top 5 at the position, if it's the 2019 numbers or the 2020 numbers or the average annual salary over the course of the contract. I'm not entirely sure on that. It wouldn't make sense if it was 2020, I guess, because technically they could get cut and that contract doesn't apply. So whatever, regardless, I'm going to list the top 5 at each of these positions for an average annual value just to get a rough idea of what you're kind of looking at. Cornerback, $16.5 million. Transition tag would be $14.3 million. The top 5 paid currently at this position, you have Xavier Howard of the Dolphins, Josh Norman of the Redskins, everyone's favorite terrible contract for the Jets, Tremaine Johnson. You got Xavier Rhodes from the Vikings and Patrick Peterson from the Cardinals. In terms of defensive ends, this gets a little squirrely because you got 3-4 DNs, you got 4-3 DNs, you have edge rushers that all sort of get lumped together in this because some edge rushers could be linebackers. It's a little confusing. But defensive ends, $17.9 million, close to $18 million. For the franchise tag, the transition tag is going to be $15.3 million. And some of these top edge rusher contracts, you got Khalil Mack, DeMarcus Lawrence, Frank Clark, Von Miller, and Trey Flowers. As far as defensive tackles are concerned, $16.3 million for the franchise tag and $13.25 million for the transition tag. And the top 5 here are going to be Fletcher Cox, Grady Jarrett, Geno Atkins, Marcel Darius, and Linval Joseph. For linebackers, you're looking at about a $16 million franchise tag and a $14 or $13.8 million transition tag. Top 5 linebackers currently, you got Bobby Wagner, everyone's favorite IR, CJ Mosley, Miles Jack, Deion Jones, and Shaq Thompson rounding out the top 5. To finish out the defense, we're going to look at safeties. You're going to pay $11.5 million on the franchise tag, just under $10 million for the transition tag. The top 5 highest paid safeties currently, Eddie Jackson, Kevin Bard, Tyrann Mathieu, Landon Collins, and Earl Thomas. Moving on from the defense, we're looking at kickers and punters. They're lumped together. Franchise tag, just over $5 million. Transition tag, $4.6 million. And the top 5 currently highest paid kickers would be Justin Tucker, Robbie Gould, Graham Gano, Stephen Gostkowski, words, and Chris Boswell. Moving to the offensive side of the ball, we start with the offensive line. They lump all these guys together, so this is going to be tackles, guards, centers, all across the board. Again, not exactly sure how much they weighed for each position, but they kind of lump them all together. Franchise tag is going to be $15 million, or $14.9 million, and transition tag is going to be about $13.6 million. The top 5 currently highest paid offensive linemen, you got Lane Johnson, Trent Brown, Taylor Lewan, Nate Solder, and Jake Matthews. The franchise tags for tight ends have kind of hit a little bit of a hot button type issue over the last few years because of the way that tight ends are now being used in the NFL. They're used more like a wide receiver, and there's about an $8 million difference from the wide receiver tag to the tight end tag. This year, the tight end tag is going to be $10.7 million for the franchise tag, $9.2 million for the transition tag. So guys like a Jimmy Graham and a Travis Kelce who ball out and are more like a wide receiver are going to get screwed in the event that they did have to get tagged because it's just such a lower number for that type of player. But you're looking at the top 5 for this position. You got Jimmy Graham, Travis Kelce, Jordan Reed, Kyle Rudolph, and Greg Olsen. Speaking of wide receivers, we have $18 million for the franchise tag and just under $16 million for the transition tag. Top 5 currently being paid at this position. You got Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, Tyreek Hill, Odell Beckham Jr., and Mike Evans. Now, the Jets do have a free agent wide receiver coming up. You have Robbie Anderson. They could potentially look to use one of these tags on him. I did bring up in my Robbie video that the transition tag could theoretically be something that the Jets look to place on Robbie. Now, I'm not entirely sold on it. Basically, what it would do is you get $16 million. Robbie's looking to get 13 to 15, but if you weren't sure if you wanted to commit multiple years to Robbie, maybe you throw the $16 million tender on him. You let him test free agency. You let another team possibly offer him a deal. You take the contract if you like it, or you let him walk and you get a compensation pick. So that's kind of where I fall as far as where the Jets could potentially use a tag this year. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if the Jets decide to use that motive on Robbie Anderson. The running back is another hot button issue for players because the shelf life of this type of position is so short. To be locked in on a one-year deal with the risk of injury being as high as it is kind of hurts the player a lot. So I expect this to be dealt with in the new collective bargaining agreement. But for running backs, $10.3 million on the franchise tag, $8.5 million on the transition tag. Top 5 currently being paid. You got Zeke Elliott, Todd Gurley, our own Ring the Le'Veon Bell. Hit the bell notification. If you guys haven't gotten that already, come on. I hit Le'Veon Bell at the beginning of all my videos. It's for you to hit the notification button. Do it. Just do me a favor. Go down there. Hit the notification button. Hit bell. It's okay. You got David Johnson and Devonta Freeman rounding out the top 5. And last but not least, we get to the final position that we want to talk about, and that is the quarterback position. This is the highest level of franchise tag, one that we have seen with the escalating prices in quarterback contracts. Quarterback this year would get $27 million on the franchise tag versus $25 million on the transition tag. So Jameis Winston, your 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions with your contract expiring could net you almost $30 million. So those are the numbers for the franchise tags. If you're looking to do a mock-off season, you can have a little bit of fun with it. Guys, let me know of all your thoughts down in the comments below. And as always, go Jets. Jets, 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 Jets.